Hey everybody, Tiny Texture here from Cheap Tattooing, and today I'm going to be doing triple skulls with some roses on a hand, and I'm going to start from the beginning. We're going to start off with putting the stencil on, to putting the needles inside of the machines, to getting the machines ready, to putting the colors in, the lining, everything like that, and showing you guys from start to finish. It'll be on the hand, so the hand is a delicate spot, so we'll have to be careful doing that. And I hope everybody enjoys this. I'm using Viva paper towels today, and I'm using them on purpose. A lot of people think that Viva paper towels are like this awesome paper towel, and they're a really good paper towel to use, and you should use those when you're tattooing and everything. I'm telling you, use Bounty paper towels, and I'm going to show you guys when I'm putting the stencil on as to why you want to use like Bounty or something like that. Viva paper towels are a good paper towel for cleaning up messes and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I love Viva paper towels for cleaning up messes. I use them at my house to clean up messes all the time. They're awesome for that. But for tattooing, you don't want to use them. Okay? Alright. So let's get the stencil put on, and then we'll go on with the rest of the stuff here. So let's put this stencil on here. And here's I'm going to take some just regular alcohol and put on this. It's just regular alcohol that I'm putting on this Viva paper towel here to clean the hand with. And as you can see, this Viva paper towel is just disintegrating. It just turned into a little ball of mess. It just disintegrated. So if you're going to use Viva paper towels, they're not that great for tattooing. This Viva paper towel just disintegrated in a matter of seconds all over my hand. So they're not that great when it comes to tattooing stuff. They will disintegrate like in seconds if you put alcohol on them. They're not great for that at all. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I use Stencil Magic. You can use whatever you like. I use Stencil Magic from Superior Tattoo. I've been trying to use this bottle up, but this bottle like lasts forever. Yeah, see, I still got all that little fine particles of that Viva paper towel all over my hand here. So you really got to be careful with that. Paper towels, and it's all over my table now, so it really makes a mess. But alright, I'm going to go ahead and use this Tattoo Stencil Magic from Superior. It's really good. Now, they say that there's a certain amount that you should use or whatever. It don't matter. I mean, yeah, you don't want your tattoo to, like, be all blurry and everything. I just put some on there, spread it around. I put a bunch on, and then I just let it set. You know, I let it get like a little white film on there. I let it spread around, and then I let it set for a few. It works out pretty good for that. Now your tattoo stencils, I printed this off with my Epson printer. As you can see, it came out exactly the same on both sides. It works really good. Now I do have a cold wash rag, or a cold rag. Again, a Viva paper towel. I know, go figure, huh? That I'm going to lay on top of this after I'm done, because that'll help keep it on there better. But your tattoo stencil, the shiny side goes down, so make sure that you get your shiny side down and you know which side is the right side. Place your stencil where you want it at. You're not going to move it afterwards. Just tap it in place. Let it sit there for a minute or two. Okay. It's not going to hurt anything at all to let it sit there for a minute. Okay, just don't move it around. Now, the longer that it sits there, the better that it's going to take, okay? So you just let it sit there for a good minute or so. Got a part over here that's not wanting to sit down there, but that's alright. I'll just kind of press that down on there. Alright, then we'll go ahead and we'll peel it off. We'll see how that looks. Oh, that looks really nice. And we'll take our cold rag, lay our cold rag on it. We'll just kind of pat it really quick. And we'll take a dry rag and we'll lay it on top, and we'll just kind of pat it really quick. And there's our stencil. Okay? That came out looking really nice. It came out looking almost exactly like the stencil did, so that's what we wanted. So, alright. Well, now we'll go ahead and we'll set up the rest of our stuff. And we'll set our wet and dry rags over to the side, because we'll use those later. And we'll finish setting up our stuff. Well, that's finishing up drying. Alright. I'm going to use Prism tattoo ink that I also got from Superior. I'm just going to use that for shading. It doesn't really matter what black ink you use for shading, because it's going to get diluted down anyway. So, and then I'm going to use Eternal Inks Triple Black for some of the dark areas. I'm going to use some lining black to do the lining from Eternal. Some lime green for the leaves. I'm going to use some white, some lightning yellow for some of the rose, some lipstick red for one of the roses, some true blue for one of the roses, some mint green for the eyes. I think that'll look really cool for the eyes of the skeleton. So that's pretty much it for the colors. I have real Vaseline. I only use real Vaseline. Don't buy the generic stuff. It'll mess up your tattoos. Really. It really will. And vitamin A and D cream. And only the vitamin A and D. Don't get the diaper rash A and D. That won't work. That diaper rash A and D will mess up your tattoos too. I don't care what the tattoo artists say. The vitamin A or the diaper rash one will mess up your tattoos. So don't listen to them if they say, oh, it won't. It will. So, and caps. Lots of caps. I'm going to use a number 5 round, a 5 round, now I can't even think. I'm going to use a 5 round Magnum for shading, and a number 7 liner for the lining, and you'll find that I use those two mainly for a lot of my tattoos. I very rarely seldom use anything else, but I will for bigger areas. I love the boxed end tips. I use those a lot. I don't know why. I think they have a little more control, so I use those tips a lot. I don't really care for the diamond tips, so I generally don't use those. I like the quick exchange tips for the liners. I wish they had them for the shaders, but they don't. I haven't found any for the shaders yet. But alright, let's go ahead and we'll set up our liner here. Now I'm not wearing gloves because I'm not going to touch the end of the needle tip. I don't care who they are. Even the tattoo artist sitting back in his shop is not putting on gloves to change out his needles. Even if he says he is, he's not. So, because he's got them already ready before you get back there. Now when you do this, you take your needle and you put your needle tip up towards the top, and you put your bend in it that way. You put just a slight bend in it. It took me a while to learn how to get that slight bend in it, but you'll learn to just give it a tiny bit of a bend so that you can do that just right. Hold your tube tip down, just barely put it on there, and just kind of let it drop in, okay? It'll drop right in on its own. I'm going to use a coil machine for my liner. Now, I'm going kind of quick on setting this up here, but slide it in, put it on there. Now on this one here, the hoop goes to the left. Look at your needle, look at your needle group, at your needle down here, and see which way it goes on the bottom. Some of the cheaper needles, the solder goes to the left and some of them go to the right. So depending on which way your needles lay down at will depend on which way you put your grouping up here. They said that you always point it to the left, but that don't always work because some of the cheaper needles go to the right. So some of my needles, the bottom lays to the right on. So I kept laying them to the right, and then I'd end up bending them wrong and everything. So just watch how that goes. Take what I do is, before I tighten this, I take and I press this down. I slide my needle down. Now this is going to be on my hand, so I want it less than a nickel. I want it just a little bit, about like a dime sticking out, and then I tighten it up. So when I press this down, I want it out just about a dime, because the skin on the hand is so much thinner than what it is anywhere else. So you got to compensate for that when you're working with Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, when you're working with the hand, and the thinner the skin, the thinner the least amount you want to have your needle out. So I'm only going to set it up to about a dime out, and actually I have that a little less out than a dime, but you don't want it out any more than that. So you want to be sure that you get that set up just right when you're working with that. There we go. Alright, the shader. The shader you can have out a little bit more because you're not really going that deep into the skin with the shader, and you're more working on the top of the skin. But I always stick mine out a little bit more than a nickel generally, but because now you do the same thing with the shader. You put your needle grouping towards the top, you grab it and you bend it just a little. You do the same thing, you put your needle grouping so that it's down towards the bottom. You just kind of let it drop down in there. This one here I'm going to be using a rotary for. You stick it up. This one here points, let's see here, my needle grouping on this one here so that it's flat goes to the right. So that's what I'm saying. You got to kind of watch and see which way it is. They say that all of them, go to the left, which, that just isn't so sometimes. Kind of tighten that up a little bit there so that I'm going to take my nipple off because I'm having some troubles getting it on. So I'm going to take my nipple off and I'm going to slide it through here. And then I'm going to pop it back on there. And sometimes that's just easier to do. And you want to watch which way your needle groupings go so that you know, so that you get your needles on the bottom every time. And like I said, they don't always go to the left. Your cheaper needles will go to the right sometimes, and this is a good example of that. So now the rotaries, they're hard to judge on how far out it goes. So what I do is I'll take and I'll just tighten it up a little bit, or tighten it up, and I'll put my rubber band on and I'll run it and I'll adjust it while it's running. That way I know how far out my needle grouping is, so I know exactly where how far out I have it. And that's the easiest way to tell on a rotary that I've found. I haven't really figured out any better way. Oops, that's pretty high. And you just wiggle it until you get it out just where you want it at. And I got it out just about a nickel there, and that's where I want it at. So, and then you tighten it up, and there you go. And your shader's ready. I did forget to put my rubber bands on my other one there though, but there we go. And my liner's ready. It looks like my tattoo's ready on my hand, so we'll go ahead and get ready to start doing that one. We'll add some Vaseline. It's all dry, everything's ready to go. So I'll slide my stuff out of the way and we can start on it. We'll set up the ink caps and everything. I have 2 cups of water, one for rinsing out and then one for a final rinse. Now the way I set up my table is I'll show you how I set it up, and it's up to you guys on how you want to set it up. I do wear gloves. Today I'll only be wearing 1 glove because I'm doing the tattoo. I'll grab out 2 gloves though. But the way that I set up my table is I put Vaseline on my table. I put some Vaseline on the table. I get out some ink caps. I only put 1 color out at a time. I don't like to have a bunch of colors out. I will take out a few ink caps though, just because they're cheap, and it's okay to do that. But and I will, and I don't fill my ink caps all the way up. I think that's kind of a waste. If you're making a ton of money, yeah, go ahead and do it if you want to. That's fine. If you got the money to do it and you got the money to waste your ink, you can. But cheap tattooing, no. I can't see wasting a bunch of money on it. I usually don't use more than like a half a container of black ink. Not generally. So here we go. We'll see how it goes. Get that focused in some here, so we get a nice view of it. There, and then I'll try to remember to hold the I'll try and remember to hold the machine so that you guys can see the needlework. I know in the last video I wasn't able to do that very good, but this one here I'll try to keep up with it. Alright. Well, okay, let's get started. kind of hard to get the angles on this here. So, gotta kind of bear with me here for just a second here until I can get the angles of this here done. Let me get a little more Vaseline on this here. Okay, sorry I haven't been talking much. I'm just getting into my work here. And it's kind of hard to show, you know, what the needlework here because it's so fine here, and how to get the needles down there so sorry about that. But when we get to the shading, we'll definitely be able to do a lot of the shading and viewing the shading, so that'll help out a lot. There's a lot of fine detail in this tattoo that yeah, a lot of people get after me because I leave my tattoo machine running a lot, but well, that's just me. I do that a lot, so I may have lines that I might have to go back and touch up. I don't know. I hope I don't. But if I do, that's okay. You know, that's all a part of doing it. You live with what you do. Looks like getting a little too much ink there. You want to try not to get too much ink. There's a squiggly line if I ever saw one. There we go. Okay, I have to admit, the fingers don't hurt, but the wrist does. Alright, well, let's wipe this off and see kind of what we got there. Hopefully, it's okay, I guess. Looks like a lot of black for sure. Hopefully it looks kind of like it's supposed to. So far it's kind of looking like it. Minus all the black. I see one skull, I see two skulls, and I see almost three skulls. So, let's see where I need to touch up at over here to make my third skull. Oh no, my third skull's there. Let me find my paper here and see if it looks how it's supposed to. Got that one there. Oh, oh, it looks how it's supposed to. That's a rose down there. Yep, looks exactly how it's supposed to. Nice. Alright. Looks good. I finished wiping it off now that I got my whole hand here black. So, that there looks exactly. Let me see here if I got that right. Oh, like that there. Spray some stuff on here, guys, and we'll wipe that off and show you. Get out my antibacterial soap here and water. We'll clean that all off there so that you can see how that looks. There. And see that that looks exactly like the picture. There we go. There's a skull, there's a skull, there's a skull, there's rose, there's rose, there's rose. Looks good. Alright, well, do a few touch-ups on the stuff here and then we'll start part 3 of the coloring. Sounds good. Alright, thanks a lot, guys. Okay, we're ready to start on, got some Vaseline on it now. I'm ready to start on the, let's see here, on the, let me see if I can get a better picture of that. On the, color now. There we go. Getting ready to start on the color now. I'm going to start with the solid blacks, and then I'm going to go to the shading blacks, and then I'm going to do true blue, lime green, and kind of go that way. So we'll do the solid black first. And like I said, I'm using a rotary machine for this. So